Take a moment to find your center. The center already is. So just a question of connecting. What are we connecting with? Connecting with all the problems and the past and future. Connect with the center. The center is not moving. Mind is moving. Center is not moving. Body is moving. Center is not moving. Center of your cells. Center of your spine. Center of your breath. Means to be in sync with life, to be in sync with yourself. It's a feeling. It's a knowing. This is to know yourself, to be in sync with yourself. So how do we get there? What does it mean to know baseball? If I say I know baseball, what is this knowing? Does this mean I know all the rules and I know all the players and I've memorized all the stats? There's some people memorize everything. They learn everything about baseball. Everyone about, all the details about how to make the bats and everything. Is that knowing baseball? Right? Or knowing about baseball? And we can say this is knowing about baseball. So you can know about baseball, but knowing baseball means this mastery, to master of living it, of playing it. Right? To know baseball is to have played it so much that it becomes part of you. Such that when you're playing, you're not thinking, I'm playing baseball, I'm playing baseball, I'm playing baseball. No. Not even, not once. Not even thinking. So there's a difference between knowing about and knowing. To know the violin. What does it mean to know the violin? Right? It means you know the history of the first violin maker and all that. You can look at a violin, you know who is the violin maker, what time period, what country. Does it mean you know all the famous violinists and the symphonies and you can talk about it? That's one kind of knowing, maybe. This in English is poor in the sophisticated model of the mind and thinking. So knowing is very vague and ambiguous here. But knowing about, so I can know about a violin, or I can know violin. Know violin is different. It's an intimacy. It's by diving into it, by becoming that. To know is to become that. And so then what does it mean to know love? Right, knowing about is just sitting on the sidelines explaining. Right, so this is, to know love is to merge into that. To be so imbued that you're not thinking, I'm in love. Right, the sugar doesn't know that it's sweet. When you're playing baseball, you're not thinking, I'm playing baseball, I'm playing baseball. You're just in it, you're living it. So the same, that love is lived. It's a lived experience, not a goal, not a impossible goal with all these rules and conditions and everything. Then it will never come. It becomes like some object and not a way, a rhythm. And so, what about yourself? What does it mean to know yourself? Is it to all these categories and details and successes and failures, all the stories, but getting the right story and not the perfect story with all the roles and titles and everything? That's just a knowing about. That's a very superficial level. But to know yourself means to be yourself. So much so that you forget, you're not thinking and planning, how should I be, what should I do, what should I wear, where should I go, what should I say, what should I like, how should I react? None of that. In the flow, that same level of mastery that we see in the violinists, that we see in the sports players, to achieve that in relation to your daily life, present moment. Not just for the weekends or for the spiritual class time or something like that. Infused into every aspect. Going to the toilet, eating the food, the space between moments. It's just infused with that depth, what we call poise. Because you're rooted in yourself, you cannot be. When you awaken that, how could you sacrifice? It doesn't make sense. And so the question then, how to carry that and to come to live from a place of depth, of poise, is much smoother than posing. Posing, in general, there's an idea of the other. We're doing somehow for the other. To prove something, to get some recognition, to fulfill some goal or idea. But the poise comes from within. Like to be rooted, you're so rooted in your spine and your nervous system. You're rooted in your organs are alive, expanding. Your lungs are alive. Your belly is alive and flowing. Your cells are dancing, buzzing. Your glands and hormones are juicy. Alive. This is what I mean, alive. This modern concept of health is bullshit. Not sick. It's all about fighting sickness. They can make a lot of money. Sick people spend a lot of money. But what about health? How can we cultivate this state of aliveness, to be alive? Like we see in the garden. You don't see, very rare to see a human deeply alive, radically, fully alive. Children, maybe. Maybe children, yes. But what does it mean to be alive? There's no model of that. There's no model. Mental health is not a model of health. This is a model of mental illness. So we can see that, recognize it very easily in human society. So look in the nature, in the forest, in the ocean, in the microscopic, in the microcosm. Observe the pattern, the flow. And so in order to be good at baseball, like to really master baseball, what's needed is you have to be present when you're playing. If you're distracted, how can you be good? Yeah, if you're not paying attention, if you're thinking about the last game, or you're worried about something in the future, you're thinking what you're going to eat next. No, what is the key for any great sports player or musician? Foundation is presence, to be present. Without that, there's nothing. And so, what is yoga? Is the art of being yourself. So in order to be yourself, the foundation is presence. Without that, then you're being something else, something other than yourself. What do you think you should be? The Disney story. All these old stories that have been imposed on us by society. The achieve this and get this, and putting value in the approval of others, all these things, recognition and such. But for the most part, in order to achieve all these things that we've been given, we must sacrifice ourselves, sacrifice something. Our creativity, our passion, our silliness, our family, our free time, whatever, something is sacrificed. Physical, mental, whatever, at some level, or at a drastic level, the whole thing, we cut ourselves off from basically being alive. This is essentially what I've discovered is the meaning of adult. When you cut yourself off from the aliveness and just serious and do the thing and this and that. And essentially the child means just to be alive. It's that playfulness. You can be any age and be playful. You can be any age and dance. So to be yourself, it's not an idea. impossible, no idea, nothing will fit, no amount, no edited story, it will never be good enough, because at best it's a fraction, a fragment, a tiny speck of dust. In the totality of who you are, you pick a few pieces and weave together some story that goes changing, and that no one, not even you believe the story, and it goes on changing. Nobody knows the story. Everyone trapped in their own story about a story. Each one of us creating our own past. Whatever you call the past, your past is not the past. The idea in your mind of the past is a tiny fragment of the totality of existence. And it's a little nothing, it's nothing. And then we create a whole big story. So the past, your idea of the past is not the past. Your idea of the future is not the future. And no one shares that. No one shares your idea of the future. No one can know it, even someone living with you. Even your own idea of the future goes on changing and shifting each moment. And that still is a tiny fraction of a fragment of nothing, of the totality of what is the present moment? Where is the present moment? Everything, everywhere at once. From the micro to the macro, all time, all space, and beyond. The present moment is a totality. It has nothing to do with an individuality. Like an ocean. Only you can merge in the present moment. Like you can't control it, you can't know it. So, also yourself, then every concept is a limitation. So to be yourself is simply to be present. That presence is enough. That presence is the highest success, the highest realization. Everything will flow from there. Whatever creation will flow from that presence, or will flow from the stress and tension and friction. If not, if there's no presence, not in tune, if the instrument's not in tune, right? When it's in tune, everything you play comes from the in-tuneness. If at the core is out of tune, means tension, friction, frustration, self-hate, all this, then everything you say and do will be tinged with that. That fragrance will accompany, even if it's not explicit, implicitly in some way, at the structural level, in the tone of your voice, in the flow of the way you walk, hold your body, the look in your eyes, everything is carrying that underlying rhythm, that tension that you carry in your breath also. So if you filter that and establish at the core that presence, then that will be that fragrance, that sweetness will accompany, will be around you and in your words and in your gaze and in your actions. And so if it's possible, if you have to play the violin every day, you better tune it, right? You should tune it. That's responsibility. That's the basic integrity. You have to play it every day, not only for yourself, but for the others, those around you. It's not only a selfish thing. If you're going to play every day out of tune, like, that would be uncomfortable for those around. And so, for sure, if it's possible to tune, we must tune. So the question is, can we be tuned? Can it be tuned? Can this body, heart, and mind be tuned? Is there a way? And tune means also kind of cleaning, right? For sure. Every day you wash your clothes. I'll bet. Some people maybe wear the same clothes 2 days, 3 days. But imagine wearing the same clothes for months without ever washing. Nobody's doing it. You wouldn't do it. Clothes. Why? Because the clothes get dirty and smelly, and then it feels like, it feels gross. Yeah, you can't even, without even putting your finger, it feels gross to wear the old clothes for too long. So, how does it feel when the mind is not clean? No. Or is it possible to clean the mind? That's, again, for sure. When your glasses are clean, you can see clearly. No, when your gut is clean, when you can breathe, you can digest it. So it would make sense then, if it's possible to clean the mind, then that would feel differently than the mind being dirty. Same with the heart. The heart space means all these reactions, emotions, expectations, desires, mood, all of this, that charge, that energetic charge, then clean. And your body. Body is not just the skin. Okay, we clean our skin and our face, But what about the inside, the biology? This is real world also. Problem is we only think of real world as this modern cities and things. This is a blip within the scale of the real world. This is nothing. The real world has been real for millions of years, billions of years, even long before. So to be in tune and harmony, we have to clean the cells, tune the nervous system, the breath rhythm, organs, lungs, the breathing, all of these systems, when they're activated, when they're optimized, then your experience as a living organism, your experience of presence, of depth, of peace, of aliveness is enhanced significantly. Potentially, right? That's the hypothesis, right? Like if you train in a sport, right, and you do all these things and you take care of it and you work out and you get proper rest and then you get a massage like that, then you're going to play at a much higher level. Not only that, you're going to enjoy it more. I like to use this metaphor of a Sunday in the park. Sunday in the park, and you see they're playing a game of ultimate frisbee or whatever, football, something, and you jump in. You haven't played in a while, a little bit out of shape, and so everyone's running around and playing and smiling, having a great time playing, you know, it's a nice day. But all of a sudden you start to feel cramps, like real cramping. You bend over and then you start to run out of breath, start wheezing and fall over, and you're still trying to play, but actually it's not fun. You don't feel this is fun. You feel this is torture. It feels like a punishment, like death. But everyone else is playing the same game in the same moment, smiling and having a great time, really enjoying themselves. So what is the difference? What is the difference? Same game, same moment, same time. Right? But the difference is out of shape, out of tune. When you're out of shape, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, at whatever level, at all levels, spiritually, then life becomes a torture, becomes like a punishment, miserable. Even the good stuff is tasteless, right? And so it becomes a kind of like fighting. Instead of when you're in tune, right, or in shape, then it's like a celebration, like a dance. And even the difficult, when you're really good at playing, you don't want an easy game. You don't want it easy all the time. Not to have a challenge is such a joy. And so that requires to be in shape. At what level, right? Nervous system, in your breath, in your heart, in your mind, in tune, present, at home in yourself. If you're not at home in yourself, what could be done? If you're always somewhere else in the past or in the future, because only possibility of progress is here and now. We can evolve here and now. From this moment, blossom into the next one. But the idea of then and there, a happiness somewhere over there, better me is somewhere over there, the past was such a great time, then and once upon a time. We call this once upon a time. Everything is great once upon a time. But what about now? What is peace now? So the practice is simple. Just make it a habit to tune your instrument. Make it a habit to be in tune. The habit then comes, when you learn how to hold the tennis racket properly, right? If you don't know it, then you just grab the thing, right? And you just swing it around, like flap it around however you can. Right? And they say, no, you don't know, you hold it like this. Okay, hold it like this, right? And then at first it's very uncomfortable to grip the tennis racket. Say, isn't there another way I can hold the tennis racket? Yes, sir. Well, maybe, you can just grab it however you want and then see how that works out. But technically, there's a proper way to hold the racket, and then there's a proper way to swing it. There's a way to stand, a way to breathe, a way to move, a way to follow through. Wow! Huh. Yeah. And if you do those things, right, and do it like again and again and again in a kind of regular drill way, it's not like tricky quantum physics figuring out how to, like, with the aerodynamics of the racket and the weight of the racket in relation to the body. No, none of that. The angle of this and that and thing, no. No, it's a feeling that you experience from living it, from being it. You're being it. You're not studying a tennis. You're being tennis. You're being tennis. You're being in the flow. You are the flow. You're living the flow. Knowing about baseball, is that in the flow? To know the stats of baseball, to watch the game and know like what they did in the last game or season or something like that. That's something. It's that. So are you living life, or are you gonna be? You want to be on the sidelines watching it? And so the practice is training your nervous system to be present. You have to train it. We have trained our nervous system to be not present. We've trained ourselves to be really, now I saw recently there are two modes. There's stressed out is one mode that we go, and the other one is zoned out. That we no longer to relax is not possible. Rather shopping, eating food, intoxicants, traveling, going out, on the phone, anything, everything is not relaxed. Stress, tense, and then zoned out. And so, through the practice, by intentionally submitting yourself to being uncomfortable, but being grounded in the uncomfortableness, each posture and breathing, then you're refining your nervous system, your chemistry, and shifting the habit at a cellular level. And start to activate the magic. Also within you, of course, there's potential to be terrible. We see it all over the place. But yet there's the potential to be divine. You have so many gifts and untapped resources and gems and treasures within you, in your glands, in your spine, in your brain, in your breath. There are infinite worlds within you that can be unlocked, and powers within you, or simply by being in tune and being present. It will happen organically, naturally. Or simply by being out of tune and not present, it will activate the worst parts within you. That whole, within the seed, the whole pattern of the plant, everything is there. The energy, all of that, and is activated at the appropriate time under the right circumstances. So within you, you have the full scale, which can be activated, but depending on the influences given in the environment and in the inner pressure system, metabolic structure, and the breath rate, all of these things. So what we're working with is it's not like, oh, I'm doing yoga every day. No, we're not doing yoga. Yoga is not to be done. It's a refining, filtering, tuning process by which I'm fully embodying within myself. I am cleaning my temple and showing up fully in myself. The practices are little experiments in order to do that sincerely and with integrity, not like a show, not like, I'm pretending to be yourself. But where that kind of authenticity becomes automatic, like a sports player playing at that level, not faking it. So that's the basic framework. That's why we recommend 2%. 2% leaves how much? 98%. If you only take away 2%, the remaining is 98%. That's a huge percentage. Right? So 2% is never lost. Right? 2%, if you dedicate 2% to water your garden, right, then what happens? You don't lose it, you gain 1,000%, because when you're alive and nourished and in tune and feeling good, then the rest of the day you can accomplish so much more. You're more effective, you're more joyful. Like the same with the metaphor in playing the game, right? Imagine out of shape because you never garden, nothing. You have no fruit, no flowers, no butterflies. You have no energy. You have the energy, you have nothing, just empty, right? Or you take away 2%, right? And that 2% is not lost because it's a joy to water the garden. Come on, it's beautiful. Come on, to be in the garden. If you have a garden, if someone gave you a beautiful garden that you could make very beautiful, then what a joy. And so to be with yourself, to spend this time, 30 minutes, 2% of 24 hours, 30 minutes. 1% is 15 minutes. So to spend 15 minutes, 30 minutes with yourself, to breathe, to feel, to be, to not think, then this itself is the radical act of love. So automatically you're infusing your cells and your breath and your nervous system with that love, with presence, with aliveness. And then that will carry with you through the day. Like when you take Tylenol, when you take a paracetamol or something, it doesn't affect immediately. The effect then comes on and then lasts for many hours afterwards. So when you activate your glands and organs and nervous system and your breath and your brain and everything, then okay, in the moment, something good is good. You get a hit. But then that state is extending through the daily life, and eventually we want to make that continuous state, to be grounded and present. Still, you can get angry, no problem. You can be angry and present. You can be sad and be present. You can be not anything and be present. Because nothing is permanent. Even sadness, even when there's sadness, is sadness 24 hours a day? Even within a minute, is sadness every second in that minute? Or is there other things present within that minute also? Even within sadness, is there space for creativity, space for nature? So that even in 1 minute, the thoughts are shifting, changing. So when we get caught, trapped in some identity or interpretation, I am sad. Now it becomes like an absolute. It becomes like a. But actually, there are many channels at once. One can shift between the channels, but in order to shift smoothly, we must refine the breath and nervous system. Nowadays, overeating, overthinking, overtalking. Too much talking, too much eating, too much thinking. We become completely dull. No energy. So you have to recharge and learn how to hold the energy. Instead of immediate energy comes and spill it. You have to learn where to store the energy, how to organize your system such that it becomes a net positive. Right now we're in a net negative situation. We're eating a food, we're losing energy. You can't even digest, eliminate the waste, we're not getting energy from life. We're not getting energy, and we're often cut off from one of the most important source of energy, touch, right? And touch means not just other humans touching you, but also like sunbathing, air bathing, forest bathing, feather bathing. Feathers are so sweet, no? With autism, working with people, all these things, touch is how the brain develops. Through touch. Now, my favorite part of the day, I've said this for years, and I will say it again at night, getting into bed, cuddling up with my son and my wife, but especially my son, we sit cuddled up. That connection, it's like such good chemistry and so like blissful. I'm literally in bliss all night, every night. Having that connection and touch. Now we've grown up in society where everyone is very distant and removed, and everything has become very sterile. And everything's technology now too. That is greatly lacking. All this, it's important to remember, even when we're looking and it looks real, it's the flashing lights, there's no depth. And so it's not received in your nervous system the same. Right? The imprint, the impact it can't touch that deepest level. No, we need real experience. So walking in the forest is medicine for your soul, for your eyes, for your brain, for your nervous system, because also forest is breathing. Forest is emitting all these subtle oils. The forest is buzzing and singing. Right? We can't hear it. We don't have ears to hear now. Our ancestors probably could hear and sense this, because we have subtle senses too, like the insects, more like radar style. And so to breathe in the prana in nature and listen to the sounds, the insects and the birds, everything is the healing sounds. The flowing water, and the same aliveness, that same intelligence and aliveness is governing the trees and the river and every aspect of nature is what's governing you, is what's alive in you. It's not a different one or a separate one, and it's not something at all different in any way. The exact same aliveness and principles of aliveness by which are active in throughout the nature, which is everything, is nature. Nothing is outside of that. So those same exact mechanisms and potentialities and connection to the source is active within you. And so through this process of tuning, cleaning, all we're doing is allowing that to take the forefront. Instead of pretending like, oh, I know where I'm going, I know all this, right? It's like, okay, like life is blossoming. So this is instead of I'm at the center of the universe, then life is at the center, right? I am a temporary happening, but this is life, this is the dance of life. This isn't my dance, right? This isn't my body. Nothing is mine. And so as such, right, what is my purpose is to fully embody, to be myself, right? Because I am the purpose of life, right? To be yourself is the purpose of life. And so again, we come back to presence. The key is presence. How to be present? By practicing presence, by practicing being present, by practicing being not good enough, by practicing being too much this, too much that, then you don't become present. It doesn't work like that. You can't be all the time in your head making yourself wrong and, oh, I'm not good enough in this, and then eventually you become good enough. No, but by practicing being enough, by being in the state of wholeness, by practicing being present through these different experiments, then naturally, automatically, it becomes a habit, not a question. Like, oh my God, did I remember to be present yesterday? Was I being peaceful? Like that. No, it's not a reminders. It's not little reminders. It's the same way at the high level of sports, you're not getting these reminders. Holding it right, swinging correctly. No, you have to train to that level of mastery. Mastery of what? The foundation. Foundation of being present, of being alive. Breath, spine, eyes, mind, right? Why not? It's reasonable, for sure. There's undeniably, this forms a core part of what it means to be human. So no matter what job we have, whatever career or age or role in stage of life, these are essential, fundamental, the foundation of our life experience, our worldview, etc. So why not explore those things, right? It didn't seem like, personally, I didn't get that training in elementary school, middle school, high school, university, etc. It was, whereas at times this had been part of education, and what Maharaj is doing, he's setting up many of these, what's called Gurukula. Gurukula is a style of education where you're living, it's like a residential, where you're living a traditional life, so you're involved in making the food, taking care of the gardens, you live at the school with your teachers, you're doing the traditional also meditation and pujas and such. This kind of apprenticeship style learning. I'm a strong believer in this style, apprenticeship, experiential learning. I think this is some of the most joyful to learn through experience and through those who are experienced, and to have time to really live it, whatever it is that we're learning. I think this is by far the best approach to true learning, not just memorizing, regurgitating information, or like learning details of how to perform a particular role within an organization. But like the learning of what it to be yourself, to be alive, to evolve, then the foundation is this core experience. So let's see, a few questions. Why do we chant Om 5 times? Yeah, so we used to chant you can chant 1 time, you can chant 3 times, you can chant 5 times, you can chant 7 times. My Guru Kunamaya is chanting 7 times, 7 chakras. But then we have the 5 major chakras that we're going. No, this 1, and we skip 2, we go to 3, 4, 5, and then we can say 6, 7 are here. You don't need to go up to the top. And so you're getting the main, right? And you have the 5 chakras, 5 bodies also. You have 5 bodies. Lower body is what they call Annamaya Kosha, the meat body, the meat suit, which is all the structure, the gross, what is the gross body, the gross level. Second body is Pranamaya Kosha. That's the vital body, the energy, the moving, the aliveness, all of this. Breath is vital body, right? Emotions, etc. Vital body. And this is not only humans, but plants also. Plants have vital body, plants have mental body, plants, every form of aliveness has these 5 bodies. Third body, Manomaya Kosha, is mind, mechanical mind. Lower mind is sense, perception, like this. This is Manomaya Kosha. Organization. You see, plant is not just like a random happening. It's perfectly organized, perfectly structured within itself, mathematically, to the utmost precision. This is mind in the plant. It's not flowering random time, fruiting random time, just random seeds. Everything is organized, structured. So Manomaya Kosha is structural organization. This is lower mind, Manomaya Kosha. Then Vijnanamaya Kosha, higher mind. Higher mind is intuitive mind, direct knowing and perception, the wisdom, connection with the source. And then finally is highest body is Anandamaya Kosha, Ananda, bliss body. No, just like fire, light being light. The experience is like being in the sunlight, like that, the pure light. And so these also 5 times Om for the 5 bodies, for these 5 chakras. It's a filtering. Usually when you get a water filter, nowadays, what's that bred 7-stage water filter? You know, who knows what, but you have these different, different rocks, and it becomes more and more fine as the water comes. It goes through these different layers, and then what comes out is refined, amrita, nectar. And so when we chant Om 5 times, then the life force within you, right, becomes refined. So instead of coming out as anger, jealousy, greed, past thinking, future, then that it expresses itself as as refined, as creativity, as bliss, as connection, as kindness. So 5 times, we started that not so long ago, maybe 5, 6 months ago. You can chant 3 times, you can chant 1 time, but this is it's a filtering process, 5-stage filtering process for spine and nervous system. Question 2. I've been building something with people I love for a long time, but now we've reached a point where our success has bred contempt, and all I often feel is anger. How can yoga practice help me to process? Everything in life has time and cycle. Everything exists within time. And in time, there are different phases and cycles. Every relationship. You don't have a honeymoon phase relationship with the whole relationship. You don't have a baby dog is not like the older dog, everything. So life has cycles and phases. Everything has that phase. It's impossible to be out. If we're outside of that, we're living in an ideal. Most of the time, we're living in an ideal of how it should be. And we're trying to impose our ideal onto reality, which is impossible. This is a failing, never possible. Maybe it would seem like you can control reality to fit your ideal, but only for a second, and then not even really. And so one, we have to recognize everything has the creation, its existence, and then destruction. And within that, within each phase, you have these three phases. And so there are infinite phases and cycles within, and so each one demands us to be present in a different way. No, you're present a different way, at the different stages of life with the different phenomena. And so this is the flexibility of yoga. When to be flexible, now you can touch your toes, you become like a circus acrobat, a contortionist. To be flexible means you can adapt and flow with life. Whatever life is giving, you can surf that wave. Whatever wave is coming from whatever direction, at whatever phase, knowing that there are different phases, different waves to be surfed. And so the practice will allow you to refine your nervous system so that you're able to roll with whatever comes. And then within that, to find your place, to find what your creativity. And then there are times to go deeper. There are times to step away and to move your energy into other things too. Because we're not caught in one way. So by training, like a good sports player. When you've trained that high level, then you're able to work, like whatever game, whatever the team's bringing, whatever their strategy, whatever that player, you're able to find a way to meet that. And so that's why we're training. Refining your breath, your nervous system, cleaning your heart, your mind, so that, because if the mind is full, over full of unprocessed waste, and let's be real, most of the stuff in our mind is waste. Most of the food you eat is literally undigestible, indigestible. The food you eat, the one you put in your mouth, even the good stuff, even the vegan superfood stuff, most of it is a byproduct, is just carrying, and you can extract, maybe, hopefully extract something from it. But you have to get rid of it. It doesn't even enter your body. It goes to your mouth and then it comes out, doesn't even go in your body. Most of the food you eat is waste. Indigestible. You couldn't even digest it. In the same way, most life experience is waste. Most of the life experience is just fodder, is just carrying the essence. We have to extract that essence from life. But if we're trying to hold on to and digest and make sense of everything, every situation and person, everything, done for. You're done for. It's indigestible. Indigestible. You simply must flush the toilet immediately. Otherwise, right, what happens? You become constipated, mentally constipated, emotionally constipated. Mental indigestion, emotional indigestion, spiritually constipated. Every day you're continually eating more and more and more, but not digesting. So immediately you eat, immediately you extract the essence, digest it, get rid of it, it's gone. Imagine you had to remember every meal you ate. Do you remember what you ate last week on Tuesday for breakfast? What you ate 3 years ago, 2 months and 5 days, right? You can't remember. Imagine you had a terrible meal, the worst meal ever. And now every time you eat, you think about that meal and you're worried. Oh no, I hope it's not terrible like that time, that once upon a time, it's a terrible meal. And so all the time you're thinking, you're comparing, you're worried, the meal is going to be terrible. Or you had a great meal, divine, the highest quality. No, nothing compares. And now every time you eat, you think, it will never be as good as that. And every time you eat, you're disappointed. Never good. It's never quite good enough. No, but you forget what you ate, and then you eat again. You don't remember. You have to forget. In order to eat the next meal, you have to forget the one. So, and the same in life, you have to forget immediately. These situations, life is not made to be memorized, all the details of every situation. So this is also teaching letting go. Because what you're doing is you're not letting go of the past. You're holding on to the present moment. You don't need to let go of the past. There's nothing to let go of. Actually, past isn't even there. It's a figment in your mind. So don't worry about the past. Hold on to the present moment. The present moment will carry you where you need to go. The river knows the river is definitely going in the right direction. How can I utilize practice to help me make a big decision? Okay. So how to listen to the inner knowing. Right? Because the mind is not the tool for knowing. Mind is a tool for organizing, structuring, right? Like a Dewey Decimal is like a library, like a whole, for these complex systems and structuring, but mind is not the tool for knowing. Mind is the tool for organizing. So not with the mind, not by weighing the pros and cons and analyzing everything and like this. But there's a deeper layer of knowing, which some people call intuition, inner knowing, something like this. And so in order to connect with that, first you have to be totally quiet, where you make everything very quiet and smooth, and you make your mind very calm and quiet. Nothing. Not thinking about anything, not worried, not stressed, nothing. First stage is to become totally blank canvas, at ease, at peace. Then from there, you put in what your question is, you drop into that space. And how is the inner knowing speaking? Not through words, ideas, and concepts. Not at all. No, it's speaking through a kind of feeling. right? Like I said before, someone singing in tune, you feel, like this inner expansiveness. Or when you like something, when you want it, that's the feeling. Then when you don't like, or something out of tune, you feel, and a kind of contraction. So inside every moment you're having this in relation to every person, every experience, every sound, everything, every taste, every sensation, every thought, all these concepts, memory is also attached with this like or right, at a very subtle sensorial level. And so the key to listening, first, be quiet. Then, not from a place of anything, no kind of like trick questions. You just raise the general framework and then see the feeling inside. The feeling should be clear. If the feeling is not clear, then maybe it's not time yet. You can't know. You can't rip the flower from the seed. You have to plant the seed in the proper time. The seed is growing. Sometimes things are not yet to be known. There's more experience needs to be lived. There's something else that's needed. So that's one part. You can't force it. You can't force the knowing. But when it comes, it's clear. And you move from that inner clarity that comes in the stillness, in the silence. Now, one thing is being able to listen. Second thing is trusting it. And often the intuition comes, something that's coming, and you say, I can't trust it. I don't trust it. I can't believe it. Because sometimes it's harsh. Sometimes it's radical. We have to shift. Sometimes not so radical. But the point is that oftentimes we are hiding ourselves from what we already know. And so, second phase, trusting. Third phase, acting on it. And the good news is that we get lots of practice, because every time we don't, then we get kicked around by life. You get slapped around. And then you're like, and then you realize, okay, I have to honor that and be true to that. I learned that from a very young age, when I was in my teenager. And so from the young age, I was very clear. I could hear the calling. And it was very radical things. Life moved me in many directions, all around the world, to do things disconnected. And everyone said, what are you doing? And I said, I had that clear voice. I played in the orchestra, traveled through Europe, then to learn these languages, then to leave the country and study the language, and to go to Brazil and study the jewelry making, and then move in community, work in the garden, and then in the kitchen. All these things was unfolding. And then I realized the same way. It was just like, to just say, okay, I learned because when I used to, in relation to certain relationships or time or whatever, it was like a thing that I had to stop that, and it was so hard I couldn't accept it. And then it would always just explode in my face every time I did not listen to that inner voice. And so at a very young age, I learned just like, okay, if you listen to that voice, it may be difficult a little bit at first, but in the long run, it's the only way. And it always led me. My life, it has been it's such an abundance of experience and a wealth of connection and aliveness and creativity and joyfully, and I've maintained that throughout this continuously, because of listening to that, because of living from that place. And so it's possible. Now we're living from a place of fear. Most of our decisions come from fear. Society, other people, scarcity, the world we're told we're not good enough, we don't have enough, etc. This disconnection. And so we've embodied a lot of that. We've internalized it. And now we have fear. And so that's why we also do the daily practice, to establish that rhythm and vibration of love, of enoughness, of aliveness in your breath, in your nervous system, in your cells, in your heart, in your mind, right? Like if you could infuse yourself each morning with, aliveness and peace, and then live your day from that place, that would be cool, right? That would be good. That sounds good. Sounds good, right? So question is it possible? Does it work? Right, that's the only question. I'm saying it does. My experience in 16 years working with all these people, and in 30 years almost on the path, is that in a very simple way, if you practice tennis, right, then you get good at tennis and you enjoy playing, and it's wonderful. Right? If you practice violin, you get good at violin. So if you practice being yourself, which what I'm saying now, then not only you become better at it, but it becomes more joyful. Not only for yourself, but for those around you, right? Everybody's like, oh, I don't care about myself, I'm always helping other people. So help other people then, and be, make yourself awesome, to be a gift, to be a joy, not be a burden. So much we're a burden, especially the people we love. We treat people we love terribly. Whatever that means, people we love. People who are close, people who are close to us, people we have attachment to. So this is this approach. Why do you think Angkor Wat was built? We're going to get into this tomorrow. I have some maps. Angkor Wat, essentially all of these temples are not temples. These are not temples. Right? This is a temple we think of as a place where people come to connect with God or divine or something like that. So we have big cathedrals in Europe. These are temples. People go there and they have these experiences. Right? You have temples in India, many temples where people go and you have darshan. You go and you see all these murtis and doing all these. So these are temples. No one was allowed in them or near them. Right? And if you look from above, and we'll do this tomorrow, they look very clearly like microchips or like generators or like batteries. Right? They're surrounded by water or floating in a big lake of water. They're all pyramids that were spiraled with, conductive metals like copper and gold and all of this, filled with precious gemstones, right? And all these huge towers that are vibrating and resonating, and built in perfect harmony with the cosmos and the cardinal directions. And so there was not one, but hundreds of these, and we've identified these. It's been identified. This is not something new. That it's a mirror of the Draco constellation. Right? That's one of the aspects here. Whereas in Egypt, it's the Orion. And so if you map Draco with the temples, you see certain things like, wow, there's a head, right? Draco is a dragon, is a Naga. And so there's a head of a dragon, and that's a specific temple within this, and then there's a tail of the dragon. And then between them, you have other points. And so what do we have in our body? We have the head, right, and the tail, the base of the spine, and then we have these other chakras. And so these temples are actually a very sophisticatedly engineered system for taking this energy, right, from the cosmos and from the earth, and then spiral, like charging it, and it would move from one temple to the next along this Draco, and it would all collect in the center of the temple, which is at the head of the Naga. What is that temple? Is Angkor Wat. Right? Thus, it's entering from the west because all the others are coming from the east. And we have this map. I'm going to give you each a copy of this map I made that I've been working on this the last few weeks with a brilliant woman from Hong Kong, student of Papaji's. And we've now understood that you have the chakras, and the temples are essentially chakras. Right? When you see from above, you see it's these huge, massive, like, water bodies, whether it's a moat, a pond, or a massive lake. And then floating in that are these gigantic pyramids, which again were covered in precious metals, perfectly attuned vibrationally and with the cosmos and the universe. And essentially they're creating like the zero energy field, like black holes, like where they're and this was happening not only in Cambodia, other places around the planet. And so, why? Still why? Why is the question? Seems like this was a healing center, actually. Like activation and healing. You had a divine race here before. Half man, half divine. And you can still see reflected, especially in the women. Cambodian women, you can see in their faces the way they carry. So things have shifted in the last few years, but the way there's a kind of poise and here you see these apsaras. Also, all these people say, what is apsara? What is apsara? Because in India, you don't have so much the apsara. I think this is all the Shaktis. This is all Shakti. In the Divine Mother worship, you have, 69,000. These are all the energies. Each thing has a Shakti. Each tree has a Shakti, the energy. These are all, and that's why each of the hairstyles, different clothes is different, because there's all these. So this was all like Naga and Divine Mother worship. Naga is a certain wisdom tradition. This is also above the Buddha. You have the Naga. With the seven, you have the Vishnu lying on the serpent that the Brahma comes out as well. The Naga has been there from beginning of time. And now Naga has been demonized. Also in the Western tradition, in the snake and the tree of life and the apple of wisdom. Right, so now snake, Naga, has become the enemy because of the control of Babylon. But anyway, these temples is something to be felt also, not to be understood. The same way you are something to be felt, not to be understood. You can't understand in the ideas. You'll never understand yourself. Whatever understanding you have is incomplete, is partial, is limitation. So it's simply to experience yourself or to experience these portals, then that's the best we can do. So let me see. I think okay. Temples. We're gonna have a really magical journey to the temples in just 2 days. I'll talk more about that tomorrow after the monk's blessing. So let's take a moment to again come back to center. If you've lost your center, come back. Don't lose your center. You have to remember, like training a horse. Don't lose your center. Don't lose your center. Well, at first it seems like silly, like, oh, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? You get hit in the head with a ball. You're playing sports and you lose your focus. You get kicked. You get smacked around. So be in sync with yourself, with your breath. Allow your life to blossom from this point. Make your decisions from this place. Play with your friends, with your children from this place of presence. Close chanting Om together one time. Inhale deeply.